We are now moving on to working on the hull, the exterior of the hull of Scout. As you can see, it is rolled over. I have masked off some areas because I need to fill notches in all these holes, but I don't want to be spreading epoxy everywhere. I got to sand it off, not to mention that it may kind of stain the wood, which I do believe, well, we know that plank for sure. Likely this plank will stay brightwork, or there's going to be a waterline painted on here. We don't really know where waterline is because we don't have plans with any drawings. The company may be able to provide them to us to take a laser level and mark off where waterline is and paint that. I suspect it's probably somewhere in here, which may not even ever cross onto plank number 2. Looking at pictures on the internet of completed little Scout dinghies, but we do know that below waterline is going to be painted anyways. So I'm going to fill that gap. There's going to be a big, large sort of, I guess, fillet or fill through here. And again, I didn't want to smear it all up everywhere, so I did mask off that area. The rest on the bottom here is not going to matter how pretty it looks because I will fill holes, maybe even add a little bit of fairing compound, sand everything smooth, and then it'll be painted. So I'm going to mix up a little bit of epoxy filler. At this for well over an hour now. I think that first batch of resin, I should get this tape off before it gets glued underneath. That's enough. I will likely have to, well, tomorrow we will sand this all down and we'll likely have to fill again if areas have sunk or not had enough fill to begin with. I have spent the last few days filling holes, doing some sanding, refilling some holes that, had a little slight divots in them. And then I took great care in sanding plank number 2 here because that's going to be bright work and I can't have all of these sort of shadows around the filler, but bottom plank or hull or so the sole and plank number 1 will be painted. We're going to put a paint line across here. So first thing to do is to lay out some fiberglass. Now if you recall way back, we did 6-ounce fiberglass already on the sole panel here. On the exterior there's 4-ounce on the inside. We are now going to add another layer of 4-ounce overlapping down that side and down this side, so the very bottom of the boat theoretically will almost have 3 layers of fiberglass on there, which is more than enough for the beaches here in the Northwest. I probably could even pull it a bit further over. I don't know how much we have as far as, I've got lots of length down there, but the higher I pull it up, I may end up a bit short on the ends. But we can try. If we try to get it just, the only issue with pulling it over here is then it's draping down the side here, which I don't really think I need. I could always trim it, I suppose, so that it is just down the bottom plank. We could try that. I've got just enough to lay down over the end onto the transom. I'll just check the bow end here. See if we are going to cover plank number. I suppose if I, oh, it's so close, I can go a little bit, I suppose. Pull that there. We have just enough to cover plank number 3 on this side. So, I don't think I want it draping all the way down there. I think we might end up seeing, especially on this plank, we might see the shadow between 2 layers here and only 1. I'll go back further. That lays on there quite nicely. I got some trimming to do on this side. And I definitely do not want to try and wrap the glass around here. We're just going to with a big pucker. So, I think it's time to trim this piece. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to trim up the center line here. By pushing hard, I actually kind of make a bit of a crease in the glass, which gives me a fairly distinct line in which to cut. Okay, I think we're ready for saturation. Well, I guess I should have checked the battery on the camera. I don't know where the filming stopped due to battery, and I probably could have even had another camera on the go. But it's all saturated, and now I'm just going to see if I can squeegee off as much as I can. I don't think there's a heck of a lot of excess on here, but definitely want to push it down to the wood, especially on the double layer where it's more likely to have sort of air trap between layers. And, you know, catch any drips that are going down my carburetor or my shear panel. I don't know if it's picking up on camera the slight sort of crackling noise as I squeegee down the bottom. That generally is squeezing air bubbles out between the two layers of glass that are here now. But I do suppose you can hear the trucks going by. I opened the door to try and let a little well, fresh air and cooler air in. We got a bit of a dry area there. Not really super dry, but just a few minor spots where the glass seems to want to continue to lift, but most of them are on the hull where we will be painting anyways. So after a good grinding, sanding, all of that should disappear. So I am just kind of walking around here a few times, making sure glass is pushed down, especially where it's going to be visible or clear coated. But I think it's time for a break and then come back in half an hour and check on it. Following glassing of the hull, sanding it, adding 2 more coats of epoxy, then the whole hull was sanded and we added a keel. Now I didn't actually film the keel installation, it's pretty straightforward. They did provide this foam keel. All we have done is, because the customer would prefer it in wood, is traced it out, have a piece of mahogany and glued it down, used some weights to hold it down in place on the center line, and then following that also added some glass. So there is glass that runs down the side and onto the bottom of the hull here, maybe 2 or 3 inches all the way through. And up in the front here, we've extended the keel or skag a little bit longer. It says it should go about 20 inches longer. We've done that. I did a bit of a sort of a scarf join here between the little secondary piece and the keel because I didn't want a sort of a butt join. But up in this area here, with a good sized fillet running around, I think it's a 3/4 inch fillet, I was actually able to wrap the glass completely over. So there are 2 pieces of glass on each side, and then one of the pieces extends completely over and over the end. Sanded it all smooth, rounded everything over. The only odd thing about the extension, which I'm not really quite sure if I've done something incorrect or not, but if we use the foam keel and lay it down and then extend along, it says sort of a 1/4 inch piece. We've actually got a bit of a gap in there. I would have preferred to see sort of the keel running level right through here, so it would be higher in this area here and then feathering down to not quite nothing, but a little bit smaller. But there's no indication in the instructions on sort of how to feather this in. It only suggests to add it and add a good fillet to extend the keel a little bit longer for, I guess, a little more lateral resistance. And on day 2, after first 2 saturations of epoxy, letting them cure, I then sanded, and we've got a secondary piece of glass that's wrapped over the end of the stem here all the way down to the shear line. So that's going to add a little bit more resistance, and because we know that as much as you have the sort of skeg on the back here, where you're going to hit on the beach, you're going to hit right here. You know, as the boat comes into the beach, it's going to be this area. So I've actually added another piece of glass, 6 ounce, sort of in this area here, because that's going to take the brunt of the beaching. The other thing that I did was when the glass came down here and it was still quite green, I took a razor blade and I just cut right through here and then pushed the edge of the glass down. And then after it had kind of cured, the next day, I ran a larger fillet here. So the edge of the glass is basically buried under the larger fillet here on the overlap of the shear plank onto plank number 3. And now that I have all the glass on, multiple pieces here and there to reinforce the skeg, the bow of the boat over the wrap of the stem, everything has been sanded and we are ready for varnish. I'm actually going to roll the boat back over and varnish the insides first, leaving the final coat for when the boat is upright again. Then I need to flip the boat back over and finish up the centerboard opening, which I'm going to do in the next episode. So thank you very much for watching. Hey, if you like this video, please do give me a thumbs up or maybe consider becoming a subscriber, and be always sure to leave your comments below. See you next time.